So one of the newer developments on my layout is I actually have installed a road through the center of my layout. This is a county highway to mimic, just a rural Iowa highway. I used the Smooth It plaster from Woodland Scenics, and I'll just briefly talk about how that process went, show you some pictures, and do a little bit of an operating session for you. Here's just a wider shot of the road that runs through my layout. I'm actually just making essentially two roads, the main highway and then this sort of sub road or sub street that actually is going to lead back to the grain elevator. I don't quite have this one done yet for a couple different reasons. Number one, I'm planning on putting a lumber yard right in here. I'm planning on putting a gas station on the opposite side of the street, and I haven't put the lines in yet or put any of the ballast down because I don't know where the driveways or where the entrances to those businesses are going to be. So until I figure out where those are, I'm just going to leave the street as it is, and then add on where the driveways or the entrances to the businesses are before I go any further. So here's just a close-up of the grade crossing. This is actually just a wood 18-degree curve grade crossing. I'm not actually sure, remember which company produces this, but it was like $2 or $3 off eBay. I actually, it comes in wood shade, so I stained it sort of a dark, almost like a railroad creosote type color. So basically what I ended up doing, and I'll show you this on some still pictures I took. I didn't do any live video when I was making the roads. But basically I put some forms down, and the forms I actually used a combination of some just plain old wood shims because they were angled, and then some styrene strips. The reason why I had to use the shims was because I wanted to give the sensation that the road actually rose up to get across the grade crossing. So prototypically most railroad tracks sit higher than the terrain just for drainage purposes. So if you're driving down a highway, you kind of notice that the road has an upward undulation as it reaches the grade crossing. So the track for the most part stays level, but the road itself actually changes to the height of the rail, so then vehicles can travel relatively smoothly over the grade crossing. So I wanted to simulate that. I didn't want to make the road at the exact same height as the as the track completely through my layout. So here's just a lower angle look at it. So you can see that the track actually, or the road, I'm sorry, travels at a downward angle till it gets to where the street intersection occurs, and then it angles back up to get to the second grade crossing at the back half of my layout. So one of the things I'm really proud about is I think it actually looks pretty prototypical like a road. So I did some internet research, and it appears that most HO scale two-lane highways are approximately 3 inches wide, and that would give you the prototypical width of a common US highway. For drainage and safety purposes, most highways have some sort of shoulder. It's usually gravel, so I just used some Woodland Scenic ballast, glued it down in place. Where the road is at a higher elevation, I actually angled some cork road bed, and then what I'm going to end up doing is, not quite done with this yet, but I'm going to put some shrubbery or some greenery on this, so it sort of simulates a county road ditch where it goes down, again, somewhat of a prototypical fashion. One of the things that I really noticed, and you can kind of pick up on it on the video here, it's not a perfectly smooth road, and if you've driven down any not well-maintained county highways, you know that they're not smooth. There's a lot of imperfections in the road, so I intentionally try to make this with some imperfections, like the road had been, neglected or not well maintained. So like right here, this sort of simulates, there's actually a divot out of this. I did that on purpose to really simulate bumps or undulations in the road. The decals are a combination of Kadee decals. The street lines, both the white and yellow street lines, are Kadee decals. All of the actual arrows and directions and railroad crossings are Microscale decals, and you just apply them with, by submerging the decal in water for 25 or 30 seconds and then just applying it to the road. So to smooth it after it dries, as you can see from the picture, it's pretty much just a bright white color. I ended up painting it sort of just a regular shade of gray. Just use a regular acrylic gray paint that you can get at any hobby store or hobby shop. It's like $1.50 a bottle. And then I actually, to get the look of the road as a weathered road, I took some quick weather. It's sort of like almost like an ink, and I just put it on a Q-tip and just rubbed it back and forth to simulate, car tires driving over it. So I like the idea of putting up signs to identify the highway on my layout. I've seen some other people do that, so I'm not going to take credit for this idea, but this is one of the local highways that we have here, Blackhawk County, County Road D20. That's what I'm modeling here, and let's go ahead and just do some quick operations through the grade crossings.